Good evening, everybody. Good evening. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you're having a good start to your week. It has been a eventful Monday so far in the true crime world. So I'm just gonna kind of go through the chat. Hey, Frenchie, I saw you I saw a couple people were in here, and I kind of popped in and I said hey, and then I popped back out. So I saw like Summer and Nancy, Frenchie, and Isabel were in here. Isabel was in my premiere today. So she told me she'd be here. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Nancy. Hey, Mary Beth. Jan's here. Of course, Jan's here. There's Mike. He always comes in lurking with them eyes. Hi, Candy. Hopefully you guys all had a good day today. Hey, Sweet and Sleuthy. And Reba. I know I'm going to miss someone, and now I feel bad because I think I almost went through the whole list. Once you start, it's hard to stop. Suzanne, Arlene, CJK. See, I can't stop now. Okay. No one else pop in yet. No one else pop in the chat. No, I'm just kidding. I'm good now. I'm caught up. If you guys don't mind taking a second to hit the like button, hit the like button. Show it some love. I forgot to turn on my other light. So hold on one second. Let me just grab my other light here. Maybe it'll help. I don't know. We'll see. Made it a little brighter over there. I got a new tree. You can't really see it. But if you guys have been on the channel for very long, back in December, I got a pine tree, I guess you would call it. I don't know what it really was, but it was like a Christmas tree looking thing. So I had it, I've had it since December. And I think what I was doing was overwatering it. It just didn't look very I don't know. It was green, but it just didn't look very fresh. That's who I need. Where's Scorpelina been? Speaking of which, she's good with plants. Where the heck she been at? I needed her. But so we got rid of that one. Vincent came home and he got me a new tree. So he's going to take care of the trees. You saw the pine tree, Kathy? Yeah. See, I had that one. I've had that forever. And it was just kind of chilling there. And it wasn't thriving, but it wasn't dying at the same time. And I'm like, what's going on here? Because it was kind of over in the corner. So maybe not a lot of light. But yeah, it was just, I overwatered it, I guess. Thank you, Mindy. I appreciate that. Thank you. My balloons are starting to die on me back there. So I might deflate them over the next couple of days. But yes, nice. Thanks for coming in, Joanne and Mindy. And I saw Arlene, a couple other people were coming in. So welcome on in, guys. We're going to do Long Island tonight. But before we get started, I want to take a second and let you guys know, if you guys didn't hear, about the Lori Vallow Daybell sentencing today. So she was sentenced to 5 or 6 life sentences. So she will not come out of there ever. Unless she's going, to be transferred for Charles's murder. But yeah, so a lot of people were asking if I was going to, a couple of people were asking if I was going to stream it last night. And I woke up and I decided not to stream it this morning because I saw everybody and their brother was streaming it today. So I was like, I will just talk about it whenever I get on the live. The judge was awesome. I loved him. I absolutely loved him. He didn't want to hear it. And I don't know what she was talking about. She started talking. I know she said I know she was saying that Tylee and JJ, they come and visit her or something. And her and Tammy are friends. And I had to turn her off. I couldn't even stand to give her. I was like, I'm not giving her my time, to talk. I don't want to listen to her. So I just turned it down when she was talking. And then as soon as it went to the judge, I was like, oh, turn it back up. She was talking all types of crazy. That's why I was like, I can't even listen to you. I'm not even going to give you the time, so I was like, because usually, you will you'll give them a little bit of time and that's what they want. So I was like, she's done. Just like Letitia. She's done. I'm done with her. I won't ever do another live on Letitia. I don't care if other than if she were to come out of that place, you know what I mean? But she's right where she belongs too. So I feel like, just let them be. Hey, Charla. Yes, it's been a while. She's made it. Hey, Princess Meg Elsa. Hey, everybody. Well, thank you guys all for being here. I did do, so I did a little presentation for you guys too. So what I'll start with is it is a shorter, it's not like a real long video, but it's the Daily Mail makes videos. I don't know if you know that, but they do. I'm sure everybody knows that, but they do make videos. And she came out with one on the Long Island, murders. And she was talking about, is the Long Island serial killer / Gilgo Beach the same person as the Manorville butcher? And I thought it was really, really interesting when I watched this the other day. So I thought we would watch that because Nancy Grace came out with a video talking about the same thing. And I was like, oh, wow, I wanted to talk about this anyway. So it was really perfect because they could be one and the same. I mean, they're all kind of a lot. There's like 4 different states that are checking right now to see if there's any unsolved crimes that fit, the MO of this one. So, and I see Kelly D in here. Hey, Kelly D, it's been a while. You didn't think she would have spoke? I didn't either. I didn't think that Lori would have spoke either. I really didn't. I didn't think that she was going to say anything, and she did. And I was like, yes, justice for Tylee and JJ. Well, and then my dumbass. Okay, so before we get started, let me just tell you about my dumb story. So then my dumbass, I did a video and I listened to the video because I put it on TikTok, right? So when you're doing a TikTok and you want to add like the context into it, like the words, you have to listen to the TikTok like on repeat until you're done doing all of that. And so I literally probably listened to this TikTok 10 times before I posted it. Didn't even realize what I said. And I called Lori Tammy. And I got called out for it. So y'all are nice over here. People on TikTok are not as nice. I was like, man, hold on one second, guys. I just got to turn my camera off. My eyes bothering me a little bit. Sorry. But yeah, I was like, man, they're ruthless over there on TikTok. I didn't even notice it. And I was like, I've listened to I listened to it so many times. And it was like a really honest mistake. I felt so bad. But this person was like, oh, they came after me. And I was like, it's not that, it'll be okay, I said, it'll be okay. We're all going to get through this. I promise. Yeah, them TikTok girls are bad. They don't like me over there. Like, I did a TikTok over, I did a TikTok, and I don't do that. I just started doing them more often because last time when I did one, I did it over Kara Kernodle, and I just did it over the whole Ann Taylor, Kara Kernodle deal. And it was something like, I literally was like verbatim what they were saying, coming out of one of the news stations. And it was like, I wasn't like giving them like, telling them like, this is like the truth, but I was just saying, this is what's coming out. And all these people like were just in my comments, like, that's not true, blah, blah. I'm just like, y'all, you don't even know what's true over here. So it was just crazy. So if you ever want a good time, just go watch my TikToks or the comment section anyway. Just kidding. Yeah. The defense objecting to anything in that with Lori, it was just, it was uncalled for. I don't even know why they even talked. So I don't know what's bothering my little eyelashes, but I don't know. Something is. There's Kelly D. I thought I saw her in here. Oh, thanks, Danielle. Yeah, well, I love you guys too, because I don't like them on TikTok. I'm cool. I'm not a TikTok-y person anyway. Like, I don't do dances and stuff like that. I don't. But I feel like if I did do a dance, it probably wouldn't look that good. So we probably won't go there. We probably won't do that. But no, I was just like, man, they're just kind of crazy over on TikTok. You guys are like so much better over here. I'm going to actually, so what we're going to talk about tonight is, the Long Island serial killer, if he's the same one and the same as the Manorville butcher. I didn't even know about the Manorville butcher until the other day when I heard about the video and the Daily Mail. So, oh, Kelly, I hope your family is okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that sucks. That sucks really bad. I'm going to go ahead and go over this. We'll watch this video first. So it's going to be the same girl that does the Daily Mail videos for like the Idaho 4. I don't know. I like her. I forget her name. Caitlin something, I think. But she goes over this really well. And then after we're done with this, I'll show you the presentation and I'll show you what the differences and the similarities in between the two cases are. And if you're just now joining us, thank you for being here. And if you're not just now joining me, thank you for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button if you guys don't mind. And I'm going to go ahead and start the video here. And I'll put the volume up slowly so it's not too loud for you guys.
The bodies of the Gilgo Beach Four were not the only remains found along a stretch of beach off Ocean Parkway beginning in 2010. 6 other sets of remains were uncovered by investigators. And now the big question is, will Rex Heuermann be charged in those killings? Police are investigating, but there are a lot of people who believe that this quiet beach community actually has a second serial killer on its hands. In this school of thought, there is not one Long Island serial killer, but 2, the Gilgo Beach killer and the Manorville butcher. What are the chances, though, that there were 2 serial killers active around the same time in the same area who used the same dumping ground? It sounds almost impossible, but the victims, they fall into 2 different groups with some stark differences, particularly when it comes to how they were disposed. Rex Heuermann is the suspected Long Island serial killer who was arrested in mid-July for the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. On July 25th, investigators were seen digging in the backyard of Heuermann's home before wrapping up the search of the property. Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney confirmed that no human remains were found at the home, but that investigators did obtain a massive amount of material that still needs to be cataloged and tested. And the forensics team was, quote, looking for tangible items of evidence as well as trace evidence, including blood and DNA and hair fibers that may be connected to the 3 murdered women found along Gilgo Beach. Their corpses, along with one other, the body of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, were discovered almost accidentally in December 2010 when an off-duty detective was doing a training exercise out in the brambles along Ocean Parkway with his police dog Blue. He was actually searching for a different missing girl. Bartholomew's remains were first discovered, and within 2 days, police discovered 3 more women. All 4 victims were sex workers who had previously been reported missing. They were roughly the same age and body type and were all disposed of similarly. The bodies were found within a quarter mile of each other and bound with either leather belts or duct tape around the feet, midsection, and head. And then they were wrapped in camouflage burlap. Heuermann has been charged in 3 of the murders and is the prime suspect in the 4th, according to law enforcement. At the time of the grisly discoveries, police knew they had a serial killer on their hands, and they kept searching the area looking for more victims. And they found a lot. In March of 2010, nearly 3 months after the discovery of the Gilgo Beach 4, investigators were continuing to scour that same area, and lo and behold, they found more human remains. Unlike the Gilgo 4, these remains were not intact, and the partial skeleton was identified as a missing 20-year-old sex worker named Jessica Taylor. Now, the victim being a young sex worker certainly fits the criteria of the first 4, but the rest is completely different because Jessica Taylor had been dismembered. Investigators found a piece of one arm, her hands, and skull. That is it. But once they identified her, law enforcement would learn that these body parts were from the same person as a torso they had previously discovered in 2003 in Manorville. That's a different area of Long Island. The remains of 3 more people were then found a few days after Taylor along Ocean Parkway. One was another missing sex worker, 24-year-old Valerie Mack. She was also dismembered. Just her right foot, hands, and head were there. And like Taylor, her torso had previously been identified back in 2000 in Manorville, right around where near Jessica's torso was also found. Again, her being a young sex worker led investigators to believe this could have been the work of the same person. But the next 2 bodies that were uncovered don't really fit the pattern of any of those initial victims. One was an Asian male, somewhere in his late teens or early 20s. All of the other victims so far have, of course, been female. This victim is believed to have possibly been a trans person because they were found in women's clothing, but the person was biologically male. Their identity still has not been confirmed, so we cannot be sure. But after Heuermann was arrested, this particular victim stands out. But let me briefly put a pin in that for right now. I'll return to that in a bit. Getting back to the bodies found near Gilgo Beach, the remains of a toddler, a little girl, were also discovered, and she doesn't fit the pattern either. The dismembered body parts, however, of a Jane Doe was later found. Now, she is believed to be the toddler's mother. That Jane Doe is known as Peaches, and Peaches' torso had also already been uncovered in another area of Long Island in 1997. And along with Peaches, part of yet another female victim were also discovered. Once again, they were linked to other remains found in Long Island in another area in 1996. I know this is a lot to keep track of, so to lay it out crystal clear, you have the Gilgo Beach 4 bound in burlap, then 4 other women who were just body parts, their torsos previously discovered by law enforcement years prior. And finally, you have these outliers, the Asian male and the toddler, who don't really fit into either pattern. Now, in the years I have followed this case, I've always kind of thought of the Gilgo Beach 4 and the other 4 victims as 2 separate cases. In my mind, I just didn't see the same person doing both. Now, police said that the Gilgo Beach bodies were wrapped in the type of burlap that is commonly used to camouflage someone when they go duck hunting. That sounds like the killer, whoever they are, took steps to conceal the bodies from view, probably hoping they would just blend in with the surrounding terrain and not be found. On the flip side, the torsos that were scattered in Manorville weren't particularly well hidden. A woman walking her dog just stumbled upon Jessica Taylor's torso in the woods. Back in 2011, the Suffolk County District Attorney told reporters that the manner of disposal of the dismembered victims was, quote, distinctly dissimilar to the 4 originally identified Gilgo victims. In addition to the torsos of Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor, which were found near one another in Manorville back in 2003 and 2000, 2 other torsos belonging to male victims were also found in that same Long Island neighborhood around the same time. So at this point, this killer, the torso killer, had been dubbed the Manorville Butcher. This was a decade before the Gilgo Beach victims would ever be discovered. So to be very clear here, neither the toddler nor the young Asian male were dismembered. Neither were they bound and wrapped in burlap. But whether you're in the camp that believes LISK is one person or that there are 2 killers, it has been speculated that the male victim was likely to have been killed by the same person who killed the Gilgo 4, which is allegedly Rex Heuermann. The proximity of the male remains were the closest to the original Gilgo Beach victims. Now, the victim was not bound in burlap, and police said that the cause of death was violent, but people have a theory as to why that was. It's believed by some that the killer picked up this person for sex work, believing them to be female, but upon discovering that they were not, got enraged, killed, and dumped them. Serial killers tend to be methodical, and the idea here is that the killer's plan, their ritual, if you will, was thrown off by the victim not being who they said they were. Therefore, I'm
just going to interrupt her for a minute because I didn't notice this the first 3 times I watched it, but she's talking about like the victims in maybe this male was killed because he was dressed as a female. Personally, if this is the same person that did all of these, they were going to be killed no matter what. So, you know, they were with a serial killer.
They were killed in a different manner and not bound like the first 4. After Rex Heuermann was arrested, there was something in police documents that seemed to bolster this theory. In the list of depraved and disturbing online search terms that cops claimed Heuermann looked up, one of those was, quote, Asian twink tie-up porn. Twink is a slang term for a gay or bisexual male in their late teens or early 20s who has a smaller build and is considered very young looking. The rest of Heuermann's search terms were about females and young girls and mostly violent pornography, so that search term kind of stands out. But it is a bit of a jump to get from an explicit search term to murder. But in an investigation of this magnitude, the smallest leads are worth following. And investigators are doing just that. They're looking at whether Heuermann is in any way connected to the other victims found in that area, but so far he's only been charged with 3 killings. If we are going to use Heuermann's search terms as a clue, I think it's important to point out that investigators said that he compulsively viewed photos of the Gilgo Beach 4 victims and searched their names and the names of their immediate family members hundreds of times. He seemed obsessed with the case of the Long Island serial killer, but police don't list any searches for those additional victims, nor do they have anything on the Manorville Butcher. Now, that's not to say that Heuermann never looked those things up, but nothing to that effect was included in police documents. Something Heuermann did search that kind of pinged my spidey senses was the name John Bittroff. Bittroff is a convicted killer and has long been suspected of being the Long Island serial killer. He was convicted in 2017 of murdering 2 sex workers in the early 90s and is the prime suspect in a third, but police have said he may be responsible for many, many more. 2 notable things about John Bittroff. One of his victims, Rita Tangretti, was friends with one of the Gilgo Beach 4, Melissa Bartholomew. At his sentencing, the prosecutor said that they were still investigating Bittroff's possible connection to the Gilgo Beach victims. Of course, we know now that Rex Heuermann is suspected of killing Bartholomew and allegedly left DNA evidence on her body. The other thing to know about John Bittroff, he lived in Manorville, roughly 3 miles from where the torsos of Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack were found. But as it stands now, it's unclear if the Gilgo Beach killer and the Manorville butcher are one and the same, but law enforcement continues to investigate. In the meantime, the investigation into the Long Island serial killer has expanded to 4 states. Police in New Jersey, Nevada, and South Carolina are now re-examining cold cases to see if any of their unsolved murders are connected in any way to Rex Heuermann. For more true crime content like this, hit like and subscribe.
I knew it was going to do that. Okay. Just put this up here for a minute. So Nookie and the cow are fine. What's the cow's name, though? I just saw it. I thought I did. Her name is Maud, like Maud or Maud on her paperwork. Oh, we need to rename her. What? We can rename her if we wanted, I guess, because that's her name. But I wonder if she's had that since she was like a little calf. Like if they called her that. Like, oh, Maud the cow. That's cute. I feel like we need a cow emoji now. That's a good emoji right there. That's so funny. Oh my Lord. So I'm going to go through this here. It's just like a kind of like a slideshow I put together. Oh, thank you, Jessica. Is Manorville small? It sounds small. I haven't really looked into like the location very well, but it just seems like it's like a quaint little town. Yes, cow emoji, please. I'll write that down with next to the cow or the cheese emoji. Somebody said cheese emoji, but I didn't get that one last night. I missed the joke because I was reading. I was reading the airmail article, but I was like, okay, and I just wrote it down. Because the more members we have, like, okay, so like, I don't know how many you get for each. I should know this, but I think Vincent probably does because he makes the emojis. But there's like a certain amount of emojis you can have for as many members as you have. But since we have like a good amount of members, we should be able to get 2 more emojis. Granola bar emoji. Oh, Cheez-Its. Oh, we should do a Cheez-Its one. That would be funny. Carly Cheez-Its. That's awesome. We could do that. We can do because it'll be fun. It'll be an inside joke for us for whenever, later on down the road when, we have more cases, more people come in, different people, new people. They'll be like, why is there a Cheez-It emoji? And then we can just have a really good laugh because I think that we all needed a little bit of Carly Russell in our life. I'm not going to lie. I needed the laugh. I really did. Like if she wouldn't have put the baby in there and involved the baby, it would, I wish she wouldn't have done that. But her actions and what she did, it was comical. It was literally comical. We had such a good live the other night with that show too. It was just so much. It was just so funny. But this is a picture of, the victims. There's no picture of the 2-year-old that they found, of course, because it's unidentified. Female toddler. Here's the location of where the victims were in proximity to each other. So the first 4 victims were found within like a quarter of a mile of each other. So they were found pretty close. And then the male and then 2 other females and then 1 unidentified female toddler. Now, if I'm a betting woman, and I'm really not, but I'm going to make a bet. I'm going to bet that the baby is going to belong with the victim number 6. I don't know. I feel like things happen when you pick up sex workers. Sometimes they may be a male dressed as a female. Sometimes you may get a call or, like a message saying like, hey, I want you to come out with me. I'll pay you some money. She may not have a babysitter on that night. Maybe she didn't have a babysitter. She's like, hey, I can come and hang out with you for an hour or 2, but I got to bring my kid. I don't know. But I think that's why the toddler ended up becoming unalived. That's just what I personally think. But we'll see what happens because I'm curious to know. And it's so crazy just how close these were to the actual beach. But you can't really walk back over there because it's such a marshy, mucky, you just sink down into it. So the Long Island serial killer victims. These are just things that they all had in common. So they were all sex workers. They were all were found in camo burlap sacks, which I forgot to see. All were found bound with either duct tape or a belt, and they were all found a quarter mile apart. So the first 4 victims, I'm putting 4 in there. One of them, he's charged with 3, and he's the prime suspect in the 4th. But the 4th one, he has his wife's hair, and it's like in a belt along her ankles, or duct tape of something of some sort, like a something that bounded her together, and it had his wife's hair in it. So I'm pretty sure he had something to do with that one. The victims that were found were Melissa Barthamy. She was the first victim found. Amber Costello was the second. Maureen Bernard Barnes was the third. And Megan Waterman. He is charged with Melissa, Amber's, and Megan's death as of right now. Rex Heuermann is. And then the Gilgo Beach, I would just put these kind of together. Manorville butcher, because I'm not sure where we're even putting Gilgo Beach at this point. There's so many different names. But the other victims that were listed, the other 3, I think it was 4 victims, they were not found in burlap bags. They were dismembered with some body parts in Gilgo Beach, and 2 torsos were found in Manorville. So body parts down on Gilgo Beach along with all the victims, and then 2 torsos were found in Manorville. Body parts were not found together in the same area. They were kind of scattered. One was biologically a male, and then one was a toddler. So they don't really fit, the first 4 victims. And I think that's all I have. Yeah. So just those 3. Yeah. I just wanted to show you like a few different like similarities, and then a few different like of the differences. So back on my BS. I love that name. Man, I love that name. That is such a fun name. Sally Mae said, had it not been for Shannon. Yeah. Who knows when they would have been found. Yep. Yeah. That's who he was out there looking for. It's just, I know a lot about the Shannon Gilbert case. When this happened, I really got deep into that. And then nothing happened for 10 years. It seems like it was just shut down. So you think he also had multiple hunting grounds? Nookie said in the states he had property. Yeah, he had. Yeah, I think there's 4 different states as of right now that are looking back. So that's just crazy. I think that this case is already big. I think it's going to get huge. I really do. I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The more time that goes on, because they are looking for more victims. I think we're going to find more victims. I think we're going to find, even maybe there's survivors out there of his. You never know. I mean, I'm sure that there's been a time that he's been on a few different dates, which I think one girl came out forward actually and said it, but that he's went on dates with women and not did anything. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's just very crazy. But yeah, just very, very crazy. Okay, let me get Nancy up here because she's got something to say. Last time that we were talking about the LISK and everything, we watched Nancy Grace, and she went over him and his wife getting a divorce. She filed for a divorce right away. I did see an article today just asking if her and her children could have some privacy and during this time, and I can understand that. I would want privacy too. Will she get it? Probably not. But she wants to be able to go to the grocery store and not have people chasing her around. And I understand that, especially if she was out of the country and she had no idea what was going on. I don't know, but that's what they're saying, that she was out of the country. So let's go ahead and play this, and I'll turn the volume up slowly on this too, because it does come on pretty loud. So and don't forget to like the video, and I will pause it here and there, but I'll try not to pause it too much.
But now,
sorry,
all eyes not only on the crime lab as they begin to process a mountain of evidence taken from the basement, the home, the car, the backyard, the dirt, you name it. Now they're processing all that, but in addition, all eyes also turning toward the eastbound strangler and the Manorville butcher. Why? Is there a connection, a quite obvious connection, between the Gilgo beach killer and 2 more serial killer episodes? I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Fox Nation and Sirius XM 111. Take a listen to our friends at NBC.
After combing for clues for nearly 2 weeks, an exhaustive search of the Long Island home belonging to Gilgo murder suspect Rex Heuermann is over.
We have obtained a massive amount of material.
Now, officials are stressing patience as they analyze and catalog what they found, removing box after box of material from the premises. Investigators finding a walk-in vault equipped with an iron door in the home and saying they seized 279 weapons.
Yes, we know that search has ceased, and the task before the crime lab is tremendous. But what about the so-called eastbound strangler and the Manorville butcher? Many people outside criminal justice have never even heard of them. You'll hear of them now. Take a listen to NBC.
The Gilgo task force is now expanding its investigation to other cold cases on Long Island.
A serial killer stalked the streets of Atlantic City, strangling prostitutes and leaving them in a narrow ditch behind a seedy motel. In November 2006, the bodies of these 4 women were discovered behind the Golden Key Motel in Egg Harbor Township, their shoes and socks missing, and their bodies with their faces pointed eastward towards the gold and silver spires of Atlantic City across the bay. The media called the killer the Eastbound Strangler, and no one's ever been arrested and charged with this crime.
Okay, let that sink in. You're not only hearing our friends at NBC, but also Chasing News, My 9. Let's hear that one more time, specifically cut 145, Jack.
A serial killer stalked the streets of Atlantic City, strangling prostitutes and leaving them in a narrow ditch behind a seedy motel. In November 2006, the bodies of these 4 women were discovered behind the Golden Key Motel in Egg Harbor Township, their shoes and socks missing, and their bodies with their faces pointed eastward towards the gold and silver spires of Atlantic City across the bay. The media called the killer the Eastbound Strangler, and no one's ever been arrested and charged with this crime.
A straight out to the founder and director of the Cold Case Research Institute, forensic expert, currently analyzing for a job, for a living, crime scenes. You can find her at coldcasecrimes.org, host of a new hit podcast, Zone 7, Cheryl McCollum. Cheryl, you were with me so many times during the time I prosecuted violent crimes, including murders, including serial killers. The first thing you want to do when you look at a similar transactions, as it is called, typically in our under our Constitution, past crimes do not come in on the case in chief. The jury doesn't need to be tainted by other crimes unless and until it shows course of conduct, motive, a frame of mind, similarity. So the first thing you want to do to get that evidence in, of course, is to find similarities. Here we have all the victims, and this has really been underplayed. Nobody even says this word, women. They're almost all women. Now, there was one Asian male over on Long Island, and there was one child. But overwhelmingly, all the victims are women. Many of them sex workers. Here in the Eastbound Killer case, and I think we're going to learn in Manorville, lumped together in their burial sites, their disposal sites. Burial is probably a euphemism. They're all disposed of in the same area. They're all killed in the same manner, which is not necessary to be a similar transaction. And many of them, if not all, are sex workers. Okay, how far away? Hold on just a second. Jen Smith joining me, Chief Investigative Reporter, DailyMail.com. Jen, how far are the bodies in the Eastbound Strangler from the bodies at Gilgo? Just give me that one fact if you know it. If somebody else knows it, jump in.
Yeah, pretty far. I mean, we're talking about Long Island on New York's East Coast, and then Jersey, Atlantic City, way down kind of at the tip there. So pretty far, but not impossible, right?
Pretty
like
far.
3 hour
What is
drive?
pretty far? 3 hours? Are you serious? People drive 2.5 hours, 3 hours just to get to work. And if you're looking to kill hookers, where are you going to go? Atlantic City, Vegas.
Close enough. Yes, you're right, Nancy. They are
away
close enough
from
for a
home, so
connection
your
to be
wife and your
plausible.
children don't know what you're doing. A 3-hour drive to dispose of bodies. Okay, Cheryl, we'll call them similarities. What do you make of it?
Again, they're all sex workers. Their cell phones were taken. That's key to me, because we know not only has Rex taken cell phones.
Whoa, wait, stop.
He's
Did you
used them.
actually just call him by his first name? What, are you going to have dinner with him at his place?
Well, I'm trying to not
Don't
be too
go
respectful.
while his
I
wife
called
and
him by his
children aren't
last
home.
name.
What?
And I'm trying not to give him too much publicity. So I'm just saying, we know he took cell phones. We know he used those phones. The other thing, not only are the dumping grounds similar, but the way he's left the victims in close proximity to woman Nether is key. Nancy, you and I talked about from Jump Street, there were going to be bodies in other states. We believed that. The fact that he had 7 cell phones, the pros right now are going to try to see the distinction of why he had 7 phones. Was each phone designated a different state? We will see.
Guys, we're talking about the very real possibility that Rex Heuermann, the so-called Long Island serial killer or Gilgo Beach killer, is connected to a string of murders. The moniker, the Eastbound Strangler and Manorville Butcher. I want to go now to a very special guest joining us. And remember, everybody on the panel, Dr. Bethany, Bernarda Villalona, Joe Jackalone, Dr. Tim Gallagher, Jen Smith, everybody, please jump in. We have an expert joining us right now, film producer and director of The Killing Season, an 8-part series on the Gilgo killer and ties to other victims in the area. Okay, let that just sink in. This guy has produced and directed an 8-part series on the Gilgo Beach killer and ties to other victims in the area. Josh Zeman is joining us. Okay, you know what, Josh? I just got chills on my arm thinking about, and not in a good way, in the scary way, thinking about the Eastbound Strangler and the Manorville Butcher, as he is called, because he dismembered bodies. Josh, what do you think?
Right now, it's really hard to kind of put it all together. I mean, the defendant, is he even considered to be the Manorville Butcher? That's the first and big question. Yes, the Gilgo Beach 4. The Manorville Butcher, we don't quite know. And we're talking about 6 other victims who were found basically around the Gilgo Beach 4. The Manorville Butcher? Yes, probably. The Eastbound Strangler? I don't know. It's really tough. I mean, we're talking about 4 women, all sex workers, all found in close proximity to each other, all found near water. There's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences too.
Okay, hold on just a moment. Joe Jackalone is joining us, former NYPD sergeant, cold case investigator, and author of the Cold Case Handbook. Wow. He really wrote the book. Cheryl McCollum, when are you going to write a book, for Pete's sake? And The Criminal Investigative Function, a guide for new investigators. The guy has literally written the book, and you can find him at Joseph Jackalone, spelled Giacalone. Okay, completely different than the way it sounds. .com. Joe, thank you for being with us. You know, I hear Josh Zeman, and I agree. The 3 hours drive for the Eastbound Strangler doesn't bother me at all. No, that doesn't bother me for someone that at that point in his killing career wants to dump bodies further away from his home. Now, the Manorville Butcher, Josh, weren't some of the body parts of the Manorville butcher victims found at Gilgo Beach?
I mean, yeah, that's the crazy thing. How are there two serial killers dumping bodies in the same place?
Yeah.
For a long time, we didn't really quite think the two are connected. But one of the biggest issues is the defendant's Google searches. In his Google search, it comes up Asian twink, which really is a kind of like kink that's identified with an Asian kind of effeminate man. And when we saw that Google search, suddenly I think a lot of us were like, maybe he is the Manorville butcher.
Okay, guys, how likely is it, Joe Jackalone, that two serial killers are dumping bodies and body parts at the same stretch of beach?
It's unlikely. And also, just from being a cop myself, and Cheryl will tell you, we don't believe in coincidences, right? So from the very beginning, I always thought it was one individual responsible for all of these. And I'll tell you why. People say, well, these people, the first four Peaches and Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack were all caught up, and then, remains were left in Manorville and Hempstead State Lake Park and Fire Island Jane Doe, but, and now the other Gilgo Ford totally intact. And it's because my belief is that this individual picked those girls up off the street, and he was worried about somebody seeing them get in the car, and that, so he had to try to dismember them to try to make sure that the police couldn't identify him, so nothing would lead back to him. The Gilgo Four, all done anonymously, what he thought, with burner phones on the internet, and there was no need to dismember those bodies. That has been my working theory from the beginning, and I'm going to stick with it. At this point, there's no going back. So the issue that comes down to is we now have all of the electronic records, and I'm sure with this Atlantic City trip that everybody's now focusing in on, you have to pay tolls to get there, easy pass records, cell phone towers all along the way. We have all his phones, or at least 7 of them. So that digital evidence, I think, will kind of determine exactly what we're looking at, if we're looking at all.
Okay, I'm going to have to process everything you just said, because that was a huge data dump right there, and every word of it was significant. Jen Smith joining me, Chief Investigative Reporter, DailyMail.com. Jen, give me the framework, the time framework of the Gilgo Beach killings, the Gilgo Four. They started and stopped when? Here comes my question. Eastbound Strangler, everybody jump in if these dates are wrong. Eastbound Strangler, 2006, is that the discovery of
Correct.
Okay, all right. So hold on. I'm very slowly working up to something. Then we have the Manorville butcher victims, 93, 94-ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are also unattributed Long Island murder victims, 1997 to 2003. What I'm saying is I have basically a linear line. Speaking of redundancy, I have a linear chronology of murder starting back in 93. You got the Manorville butcher murders in 93, starting then, where the bodies would be dismembered. Then from about 97 to 2003, multiple other victims. 2006, Eastbound Strangler. 2007 to 2010, the Gilgo victims. I mean, it just said, okay, you know what? Let me go to Bernarda Villalona, who actually worked in the Homicide Bureau with one of the current Gilgo case prosecutors. She's a high-profile criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor in New York, and you can find her at villalonalaw.com. Bernarda, do you remember the very first case you ever tried? You don't need to tell me about it, but do you remember?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nancy, absolutely.
Do
And
you
it was
remember
a
the
cold
last
case.
case? Do you remember the last case you tried?
I remember the first case and the last case.
Okay.
But definitely the first case, because it was cold case. And cold cases are the most difficult cases.
Shh. How much did you improve? How much did I improve from my first case of an attempted shoplifting to the last case where I had a serial killer? How much did you hone your craft?
Oh my God, 100. I mean, I'm a different person now. A completely different
Exactly.
person, completely different trial attorney.
I'm getting a sign waved at me by Jackie. Heuermann would have been in late 29. I think you're trying to say 29 in 1993. Okay, yes. How old was Bundy? Wasn't he? And Dr. Bethany Marshall, high-profile psychoanalyst, joining us out of Beverly Hills, where they're all worried about which designer bag goes with which designer outfit. But hey, everybody's got problems. You can find her at drbethanymarshall.com. Dr. Bethany, jump in.
Well, here's what I think about the chronology. Sure, at the beginning, he's just working up the courage to begin killing people. So maybe he won't be as talented at it. But you see, one of the things we know about serial killers, and this is sort of in the literature, and it's known in my field, is that they do kill a few victims at a time, and then they go underground. And then they have another killing spree, and then they go underground. And the question is, why is that? The reason that they do that is that they have such prolific fantasy lives. Now, remember, serial killing is motivated by sex, right? That the desire to inflict cruelty, to kill in order to achieve sexual arousal. Well, because these guys have such prolific fantasy lives, they can take a trophy or a body part, and they can fantasize, they can think, they can go on the internet, they can plan their next crime, and then they pop up, and then there's another cluster of killings. And that's what I'm seeing in the chronology, is that there are clusters. You know, he kills like sort of the 4 women that are faced east, and then he goes underground again, and then he pops up again. The idea of the 3-hour drive, I'm sorry to keep bringing this back to sex, but I think that sex addicts, people who are sexually compulsive, they do drive a lot. They're looking they masturbate a lot, they fantasize a lot, they're looking for that right next victim or person that they're going to hook up with. So think of it as a compulsion, and there's a lot of time spent in the compulsion. And also, we're just focusing on the people who died. He may have been having sex with a lot of people every day, hooking up a lot, dating a lot, calling women a lot. So the deaths have come to our attention, but we have to remember that this is a man who's thinking, acting, masturbating, looking, calling all the time.
Hey, let me
It's a
throw
huge
something in
amount of
there.
energy.
Of course, the guy's got seven burner phones plus his regular phone. What do you think he's doing? Again, ladies, your husband or boyfriend gets a burner phone, you get a lawyer. Okay, bye-bye. But I'm in the same boat with Josh Zeman. I'm ready to consider the Manorville Butcher killings. I've got to know more about the Eastbound Strangler. Although that modus operandi in Eastbound seems more similar to me, the Manorville Butcher puts body parts of his dismembered victims at Gilgo Beach with the Gilgo 4 bodies and the other bodies found there. Many bodies. I mean, are you ready to believe that there's a coincidence, that there's a serial killer convention and several of them are leaving bodies there? Dr. Tim Gallagher is with us, medical examiner for the state of Florida. You can find him at pathcaremed.com, lecturer, University of Florida Medical School in Forensic Medicine, founder of the International Forensic Medicine Death Investigation Conference. Just in a nutshell, if that's possible, I mean, you studied what, 7 years in med school, then the undergrad, then the residency and all that. And I ask you to put it in a nutshell. Dr. Gallagher, how hard is it, truly difficult, to dismember a body?
Well, I think that's something important to talk about here, Nancy. The way the body has been dismembered can also lead to, is it one killer or is it two? If the body was surgically dismembered, for instance, if a knife was used and it was between the joints, the person would have to know about anatomy and where exactly to cut it. So they would leave virtually no marks on any of the bones with the knife. If the person had used, say, an electrical saw, to cut through the bones, just say as a butcher would, that can, and if all the bodies who were dismembered in the same way, that could lead to 1 or 2 killers. So it's important to look at the ends of the bones when they are found to see if the bones were surgically dissected from each other. For instance, the knife was gone through the joints, or if a electrical saw type device was used, which left teeth marks and damage to the bones while the person was cutting through. If the damage to the bones were the same in each of the body parts that were found, then we could attribute that to the same person. But as far as dismembering a person, it takes a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy. It's not for the meek. It's not for somebody who is weak. And the actual pattern to look for will help you decide whether it's 1 or 2 killers.
Online, not everyone, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's just like Dexter. It's not just like Dexter. Number one, that's pretend. Number one. Number two, Dexter was killing bad guys. This guy is killing, stalking, torturing, and killing women and children. Because wasn't there a child found, Jen Smith, with the Eastbound Strangler?
Yeah, there was. It wasn't the Eastbound Strangler, Nancy. It was one of the Manorville victims. There was a toddler found with the mother. Peaches, correct. Yeah. So the mother is unidentified. She's a Jane Doe. And investigators obviously were so struck by the tragedy of this, they didn't want to refer to a toddler girl as a Jane Doe. So they came up with the name Peaches for her. And I mean, yeah, would have been the Manorville butcher.
Thank you, guys. Speaking of the Manorville butcher, take a listen to our cut 139 ABC7.
Today, we are announcing that Jane Doe number 6 has been positively identified as Valerie Mack.
It has been 20 years since the family of Valerie Mack has seen her smile or heard her laugh. The 24-year-old was last seen in the spring of 2000, about 100 miles away from Philly. In November of that year, the partial remains of a woman were found in Manorville. More than 10 years later, more remains were discovered in Gilgo Beach State Park in April of 2011.
Gilgo. We keep hearing Gilgo, dead bodies, body parts. And there's another similarity. Take a listen to our friends at Pix 11 in our cut 142.
Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack, another dismembered victim found in Manorville, were tied to the Gilgo Beach serial killer or killers. 2 law enforcement sources told me they were tied up in a very cruel way. One saying their leg area was bound in a ball. You'd have to be a hunter to do something like that. The second source said the knees were brought into their chest area.
Josh Zeman joining us, director of The Killing Season, an 8-part series on the Gilgo killer and ties to other victims in the area. Weren't the Gilgo victims bound as well?
Yeah, the bounding is similar for sure. That's another big issue. I mean, how are body parts being left in Manorville, the same body parts being left in Gilgo Beach? It's just too coincidental.
How far is Manorville from Gilgo Beach?
50 miles. Joe, how far is it?
Yeah, I was going to say about anywhere from 40 to 45 miles.
And listen, 45 miles, an hour and a half, maybe in the car. But late at night, cut that down to 50 minutes, 1 hour. If you had to get rid of a dead body, how far would you drive in the middle of the night to do that? I would definitely drive at least an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours to get rid of a dead body. I'm curious about.
Well, it would be on his way home.
Explain.
It would be on his way home. So if he was, whoever's responsible, let's just say it's the suspect they have now. On the way going to Manorville, you would just hop down onto the Sagittos, go all the way down to the Southern State, right over the Robert Moses, right into Gilgo right into the Wausau Parkway, right to Massapequa. I mean, it's just a direct route. I mean, And Josh will tell you too, for us who grew up on Long Island, I mean, you just don't find Gilgo Beach. It's not like you can stumble upon it. You have to know it's there. So it's just, to me, it's just interesting because when you look at a map and you look at where Manorville is and Hempstead Lake State Park and everything else in Massapequa now, it all comes into a circle.
Okay, that is incredibly probative or proves something to me. Are you telling me, is this Joe Jacqueline speaking?
Yes.
Joe, are you telling me that Heuermann's, and again, he has not been charged in Manorville or eastbound. We're exploring the similarities. Are you telling me, Jacqueline, that Heuermann's drive home goes through Gilgo and Manorville?
No, what I'm saying is that if you look at the map, you look at where he lives and look at where the bodies are recovered and the parts of the bodies are covered, it's basically like an oval or a circle. So you can connect all the dots and put them all within that oval and, be able to try to pinpoint it. And that's what we've seen investigators do already with even the cell phone records, where they pinpointed him down into Massapequa or into Manhattan. And I think they're going to try to do the same thing with these cases. Just that, do they have the records from way back when? I mean, we know they don't have them from the 96 cases and the 97 cases because it was still, I don't think they got anything back then because I don't think much of this existed. So
okay,
is
coming from someone with no accent at all, me, could you slow down your New Yorkese and tell me what you identify on the map as a would-be route by Heuermann? Or let's just pretend the killer. Go ahead.
Well, it depends on where he's picking these girls up. But if you look at Manorville, you can make a direct line right to Gilgo Beach, right from Manorville. If you come from Massapequa, you can make a direct route to Gilgo, no problem. You make a good direct route to Hempstead Lake State Park, be home within, a half an hour, back and forth. And of course, anybody who's ever ridden the Southern State Parkway knows that timing is everything. So if you're doing this in the middle of the night, you're pretty good. If you're trying to do this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it'll take you a long time to do so.
And he mentioned something really interesting, Josh Zeman, filmmaker, producer, director of The Killing Season, an 8-part series on Gilgo. Josh, I'm thinking about what he's saying regarding the route. And what he said that you'd have to know the area to even find Gilgo Beach. Everybody pause and think of a place in your hometown, a place not many people would know about, that a local, only somebody that lived in that area would know. What do you make of that, Josh? Someone that knows Manorville, that knows Gilgo, that knows the state park.
Nancy, I think we can get even more specific than that. We know he's a hunter. We know he had, 295 guns and probably other hunting implements. We know that he buried the GB4 in camouflage. So we know he's a hunter. We know he's a duck hunter. He knows Gilgo because he went hunting there. And some of the other victims who were found in Manorville were found by hunters. So I believe he knows both areas from his hunting. The question is, what is he hunting?
Okay. You just gave me a lot of critical information. Would you say that one more time, please? The hunting aspect. Actually, I've got hunter circled on my notes. It says one investigator saying their leg area, this is Manorville victims, their leg area was bound in a ball. You'd have to be a hunter to do something like that. That was their quote. Okay, would you tell me that again, please?
Just that one of the reasons why he knows these areas outside of being a Long Islander is because he's a hunter. We know he's a hunter. We know he's a duck hunter. We know he had a huge collection of weapons, hunting implements. We know that the Gilgo Beach 4 were wrapped in burlap camo. So Gilgo Beach, duck hunters use it. And even a hunter found one of the victims in Manorville. So I think hunting kind of ties this all together. Are we hunting individuals or are we hunting animals? There's just a lot of connections to the idea of being a hunter.
Josh Zeman, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying about the connection. between Manorville, the Manorville butcher, and the Gilgo serial killer. Modus operandi, Cheryl McCollum, Cold Case Investigative Research Institute founder, changes like Bernarda, who's being unusually quiet today via Luna. you hone. Okay, here's a simple comparison. In my first jury trial, I thought that's when women thought they had to dress like men. I had on the shirt up to my chin, the long sleeves, the long sleeve jacket, the skirt, the weirdly ivory hose, the flats, my hair up on my head, and one of those fake ties that women used to wear, like a rosette or something stuck in my throat. That was the week the air conditioner went out in the Fulton County Courthouse, and I was on the 5th floor. By the time that trial was over, my hair was on one side of my head, had all black eyeliner coming down my face. The jacket was gone. The shirt was untucked. I don't know what happened to that rosette. Long story short, simply put, I adapted. I changed the way I gave a closing, the way I did directs, cross exams.
But
Everything
Nancy,
changes. He could have honed his craft. Is that Bernarda? Go ahead, Bernarda.
Yes, Nancy. So you have to think, we don't know when Rex Heuermann started his little serial killing. We don't know where it started. Where was his first kill? Who was his first kill? Where did it happen? When did it happen? So what we encountered is just the Gilgo Beach murders, and that being the 4 women, but he's only charged for 3. And these are the questions and the clues that investigators are trying to find. And those questions that we've been talking about all day are the same things that investigators are like, wait, could it have started in this area? Could it have started in New Jersey? Could it have started in South Carolina? Could it have started in Nevada? Where's the first kill? Because there's no way that you start right with Gilgo. There's something more to it. You started with a simpler murder than just this, because this seems to have been well planned when you're talking about getting these bodies to Gilgo Beach.
I go back to it.
And Nancy, if I could jump in about the hunting.
Sure, jump
You
in.
know, people who have compulsions tend to have habits that relate to the compulsion. So let's say he has a compulsion to kill, compulsion to inflict cruelty. So the hunting is related to the compulsion, just like somebody who's an alcoholic may begin to make craft beers, right? Because that is related to the compulsion. So he probably had a lot of activities in his life. You know, the idea of dismembering the bodies, whether that was for pleasure, sexual pleasure, or also because he was trying to cover his tracks. It was probably a little bit of both. You know, did he do woodwork? I hate to say, I mean, I hate to be so crass about it, but I'm sure we're going to learn that he has a lot of habits that relate to his compulsions.
Hey, Nancy, can I get back to
Yes.
MO for a second?
Hey,
Because I
yeah,
think it's
Cheryl,
important.
I just wanted to point out the classic example, Ted Bundy. He started picking up women
Do
that.
not take my answer.
Oh, I'm so happy. Ted Bundy started off. There's another aspect to Bundy. I bet this was not what you were going to say. He started picking up female university students, but then he shifted and no longer was picking up university students. In the end, he went back to murdering them in their place. But at the beginning, he tried to pick them up. But I bet you've got a different change in MO.
I do. He dismembered some of his victims. He strangled some with pantyhose, and then he picked up a log and performed blunt force trauma. The MO can change. He can fool you because his fantasies will also change. Ted Bundy had adults primarily, and then all of a sudden he has a 12-year-old child. It does change. So, for example, when we're looking at these different pockets of victims that were taken from a similar area, look at the Asian male. The Asian male was found wearing women's clothing. My question is, whose clothes were they? Because all the other victims were found nude. He wasn't. So I want to know, when he Googled the Asian Tink, was that before or after the murder? That timeline is going to be crucial in telling you his mindset with that murder.
Speaking of MO, modus operandi, method of operation, take a listen to our cut 126 and 127 from The Killing Season. Listen.
There were in all 10 bodies that were found along Ocean Parkway. Now, the police have made a distinction because of the way that the bodies were found. Some were dismembered and some were found intact. The Gilgo Beach 4, which is the 3 women plus one that Rex has been arrested for, they were all found intact. So the police, kind of because of that MO, they basically grouped them together and they called them the Gilgo Beach 4. The question becomes, what about these other 6 victims? Dismemberment, it's different MO, and this is hard to talk about, but is it the same killer or is it different? Some experts would say that it's completely different. Other people would say, no, this guy was just dismembering body parts in the beginning, and then he got lazy because he didn't get caught and then was leaving bodies whole. So that's where this whole confusion comes from.
Okay, you're hearing our new friend, Josh Zeman, speaking. Explain to me, Josh, and don't feel fenced in or limited by my question.
Mm-hmm.
Explain to me when you said he just got lazy.
I mean, that's a question that has been brought up. And look, I'm not an expert. We have a lot of experts on this panel who know far more than I do. I'm just a documentarian. But I do wonder.
Okay, stop right there, Zeman. You've done an 8-part series on the Gilgo Beach killer and ties to other victims. So I think you are. Go ahead.
Okay. So the question just becomes, and I throw this out to the rest of the panel, do we have examples of serial killers basically getting lazy? I mean, they take all these early forensic countermeasures. Yes, could the dismemberment be part of some type of pleasure as well? Is it also a forensic countermeasure? And then, he doesn't get caught for so long. We're talking about 1996, when the first victim, Fire Island Jane Doe, disappeared, going all the way to when the Gilgo Beach 4 disappeared about 10, 12 years later. So could he get lazy? That's my question. Could he change his MO because, hey, he just wasn't caught?
Nancy, I'd like to answer that.
Could I stop you?
He didn't get.
Go ahead.
He didn't get lazy. He got comfortable. There's a difference. We see it in law enforcement. Sometimes you get very comfortable in your zone among your people, and maybe you're not on a swivel looking for problems and being situationally aware. This man, full time, researched, Googled, read about, downloaded torture porn. He drove extensively looking for places, picking dumping grounds. He contacted sex workers all the time. This was something he did full time. He was absolutely not lazy.
To Jen Smith.
That's a really interesting point.
I was just going to you, Chief Investigative Reporter, DailyMail.com. I was going to ask you a different question, but let's hear what you were going to say.
Well, that's a really important, crucial point. The reason that they hauled Rex Heuermann in wasn't because they felt as if their investigation was complete. It was because he was continuing to contact sex workers using burner phones and making arrangements to meet with more women. So investigators were frankly terrified that he might strike again. They were watching him for a year before they brought him in.
Okay, hold on, Jen Smith.
Jen
Smith. I read every single thing you write about this on dailymail.com and far, far beyond. I want you to explain what you just said about how he was continuing to contact sex workers up to the time of his arrest. But I saw the photo that you first published of Rex Heuermann in a cell phone store buying additional minutes. Buying additional minutes, at least I think I saw it on Daily Mail, buying additional minutes for his burner phone. If David Lynch popped up on video at a cell phone store buying more minutes for his burner phone, oh yeah, I'm changing the locks then, that minute. And what else is he going to do on a burner phone? That's his MO. But now you are adding to that and saying not only was he buying those additional minutes, he's caught dead in the water on that, but we know for a fact he was contacting sex workers up until the time of his arrest. And that woman, I believe she said July 4, July 7, he approached her in a very aggressive manner. out at a public park. She got so afraid that she called her sister and said, I need to come home right now. Right. It was all happening up until the moment of his arrest. Jen.
Absolutely. He was brazen. He did not feel like he had anything to worry about, and he was continuing to behave in a way that he had been for decades. I mean, they really were worried about him striking again. That's why they arrested him. And where they arrested him, outside his office in Manhattan, they did that away from the home where he kept 279 or 295 firearms. They were worried about a standoff, Nancy. That's why they hauled him in. This guy was dangerous.
I want to just zero in on something that we're all talking about. Cheryl McCollum, you say tomato. Let's just say I say tomato, you say tomato. But Josh Zeman says he got lazy. You say he got comfortable. Joe Jackalone and Bernarda Villalona with me. Joe, isn't that always the way? I mean, the first time I backed out of our garage, I nearly took off the side mirror. Well, guess what? I don't even slow down now. You become comfortable. Some people might call it lazy, but isn't that the way it always happens with criminals?
Well, I don't know if it,
but
I don't know if it
also
always
confident.
happens, though.
Go ahead, Joe, go ahead, Joe Jackalone.
Yeah, I don't know if it's always that way, but I always try to find because I've actually investigated these kinds of cases, and you try to find where that first or second one happened, because that's the time when this individual made the most mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's where you as an investigator try to exploit that. And
So right.
He might get comfortable, but he also could get arrogant.
Bernarda, jump in.
Nancy, criminals never think they're going to get caught. I mean, that's just the thing. I mean, even with white collar crimes, we see that increasingly they fail to cover their
right
crimes.
there. That's it right there, is that they never think they're going to get caught. And you have to think that Rex Heuermann, remember, he had over a 10-year head start on us because he did not become a suspect until just last year, 2022. So, of course, he thought he wasn't going to get caught. That's why he continued acting the way that he was acting, and why the prosecution and law enforcement had to move in to stop him, because they saw that he was about to kill again.
Where does it stand right now, Jen Smith, the investigation, the status of Rex Heuermann, the alleged Long Island serial killer?
Well, they've completed their search of his house. Now, this took a long time, well over a couple of weeks now. They've seized a lot of evidence. We don't know exactly yet, but we're surely going to find out. Rex remains in custody, no bail, obviously. He is due back in court in early August, Nancy. So far, he has pleaded not guilty via his attorneys, but that was very early on. That was before he knew exactly what.
Wait a minute. When will he be in court in August?
Where or when? When? August 1st.
August 1st.
And that is for what? An arraignment?
Doesn't
Well,
specifically say.
No, that's for a conference. It's for a conference because he's already been arraigned and he's been indicted. So now it's going to be a series of motions and scheduling motions and scheduling to see even possibly whether we can get a trial date.
We wait as justice unfolds. But for you out there that know or think you know anything about the Long Island serial killings, the Manorville butcher killings, or the Eastbound Strangler killings, please dial 800-220-TIPS, 800-220-TIPS. Goodbye, friend.
Dang it, Nancy. She wouldn't stop. Now look, I'm her face. Man, I always get her on the worst face. Sorry, Nancy. Let me do that. Sorry, Nancy. she's gonna be like, I'm never gonna go on that girl's channel ever. She always gets me in the wrong moments. Yeah, so they're gonna do like a press conference. Jan was saying. I figured that they would have something afterwards, or like Law and Crime would do something, or one of those people. But I do want to stream it if there's a press conference afterwards, because I would love to know what happened inside the courtroom. I'm sure that New York doesn't allow cameras in their courtrooms, probably because, I don't know, they're so damn busy up there. Like, could you imagine if you had to, like, if you were seeing I don't know how many people they see every day, but hundreds, I would say. Like their judges there. And then they had to bring in cameras and take cameras out for, some cases, other cases not. It's probably just better just to say no cameras at all. So, I thought I told Nancy about wearing that jacket though. That jacket's terrible, Nancy. It's like a jersey jacket. I don't even know what she's doing. But she's our girl. I did put on the community tab a couple pictures of Nancy Grace for the cardboard cutout. So if you want to go over there here in a little bit and check out the community tab, you'll be able to vote for which Nancy you like the best. And I was going to show you guys actually another video because the reason why tonight I wanted to do the Long Island serial killer because he actually goes to court tomorrow. So, hello, truth shall set you free. Hello there. Hey, everybody coming in. I know I was a little earlier on the live tonight. So I don't know. Maybe we should I'm trying to decide like 7:15, 8:15, maybe 8:15 still for like, until maybe like after, I don't know, September or something. You guys let me know. I'm here for whenever you guys are here. So I can make it work. But I was Googling some stuff. I was trying to see some stuff about Rex, but I did find a video that I thought I would play for you guys really quick. Because it's going to talk, this is from a day ago, and it's going to talk about Rex Heuermann and him going to court tomorrow. So it'll just kind of be nice to end out the live with this because we'll figure out what's going on tomorrow. Maybe if not, I'll get on Twitter and I'll go from there. Let me turn the volume down so I can turn it up for you guys, so it's not too loud.
That front. And that front is the family, it's the job, it's the kids, it's the all-American look, right? But there's this dark side that he has.
How did he have all of these hidden deviancies that no one had discovered in all of these years? And he was able to just keep that completely on the side. And now we see these horrific internet searches and all of the things that are actually part of the evidence. And how was he able to hide that for so long? And was there at some point a form of escalation or maybe a rapid unraveling of his mental state that people didn't catch?
And if they can track him, they can definitely find out that he didn't start in his late 40s, that he may have started in his 30s or in his 20s, depending on where he went to college, depending on where he was living, if he's living in an apartment, all those things they look into, if they're actually going to get to the bottom of all the individuals he may have killed.
Of course, they're all talking about the accused Long Island serial killer scheduled to be in court early next week. Court TV legal correspondent Julie Janae has more tonight.
To announce the indictment of defendant Rex Andrew Heuermann, 59 years of age. He's been arrested by the Suffolk County Police Department's homicide detectives, and he's been indicted for the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello.
On July 13th, 2023, architect Rex Heuermann was arrested in connection with 3 of the Gilgo Beach murders and remains a prime suspect in the killing of Maureen Brainard Barnes. For more than a decade, the bodies unearthed on Gilgo Beach in New York terrified residents. 9 women, a man, and a toddler were discovered, and police believe Heuermann is connected to 4.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
During a training exercise on December 11th, 2010, the remains of Melissa Bartholomew were discovered. 2 days later, the remains of Maureen, Megan, and Amber were all found. All 4 victims were petite females believed to be sex workers, missing clothes and bound in a similar fashion. They were killed by homicide. Before their disappearance, they had been contacted by a person using a burner phone.
For each of the murders, he got an individual burner phone, and he used that to communicate with the victims. Then shortly after the death of the victims, he then would get rid of the burner phone.
According to the phone records, investigators believed the serial killer lived in Massapequa Park and worked in Midtown Manhattan near Penn Station. They discovered Heuermann had access to several burner phones, and the calls were made inside what police called the box. Their suspect would also make sadistic calls near his office to the victims' families, with one particular call asking Barthelemy's teenage sister, quote, "Do you think you'll ever speak to her again?"
They had these phone records from day one. As you mentioned, they had the description of the guy, the car. They had all the information they needed.
A key detail in the investigation would be buried for years, as a police chief was arrested for obstruction of justice. But in March of 2022, weeks after a new task force formed, an investigator found a witness description of a man matching Heuermann's characteristics at Amber Costello's home.
That individual was identified as a person who was between 6'4" and 6'6". A large man. Also of significance was the fact that he was driving a dark-colored, black, first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche.
Investigators would later find Heuermann's Chevy Avalanche in South Carolina.
One of the things that we did is we followed him because we wanted to get an abandonment sample of his DNA.
Investigators collected Heuermann's DNA from a discarded pizza crust and linked him to a hair found on a burlap covering Megan Waterman's remains. The investigation continues with the search of Heuermann's home and the possibility of other murder charges. He claims he is innocent and has an attorney who says he did not commit these murders.
In terms of speaking to my client, the only thing I can tell you that he did say as he was in tears was, "I didn't do this."
So what is this trial going to look like? What is this defense going to be? Bernard Villalona, let's start with the trial. What do you think this trial looks like?
This trial is going to be a media circus, Vinny. I can tell you probably at every court hearing that takes place having to deal with Rex Heuermann, that is going to be packed with media present. I'm hoping that whoever the judge that is assigned to this case will allow cameras in the courtroom so it can be televised, this trial, because it's important not just to those family members of those that were found and those bodies that were found in Long Island, but also to that community and people here in New York and just all over that were scared for many years, thinking of, is there a serial killer? Is this serial killer the person that's next to me? And finally, he has been apprehended. But it's definitely going to be a media circus. In terms of what his defense is going to be, hey, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me. It was somebody else, right? Ben, how do you think both sides should prepare for all of this? Because as Bernard has said, I mean, we've got a hearing coming up next week. Every time something's happening in court, everyone's going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. It sounds like from what we've heard that there isn't an enormous amount of forensic evidence. So I think his counsel may focus on the lack of actual evidence linking him to these horrendous murders.
Brian Watkins, unbelievable, right? A New York serial killer, and we're solving the case with the pizza crust. And I don't even know if it's New York style. It looks a little thick from here.
You know, it is a circumstantial case, but here's the problem for the defense with a circumstantial case like this. When you got a lot of circumstantial evidence, it puts the ball in the defendant's court to explain that stuff. Why is a hair fiber DNA on this blanket with this buried girl? Why is all this crazy porn stuff on your internet? Why are you researching this killing of these girls that we're charging you with? Why that was such an interest to you that you're doing Google searches for it? He needs to explain that stuff. It will not be enough for him to get up there and just say, whatever the prosecution just told you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's not enough. I didn't do it. That's not going to work. He's going to need to get up on that stand and explain that stuff. And if he can't do it, he's done because he's already not likable.
Bernard, under New York law, do you think he'll be able to be tried as a serial killer and not break this up into separate trials so the jury has blinders on and doesn't know the full picture?
So, Vinny, he is going to be tried as a serial killer. The name of the charge is not serial killer. It's actually murder in the first degree. So in New York, murder in the first degree, by definition alone, if a person kills 2 or more people in different transactions within 24-month period with a similar common plan or scheme, then those homicides can be tried together. So the law itself is going to allow for these 3 homicides to be tried in front of the same jury. And that's why it makes a huge difference that he was charged as a serial killer under the same common scheme that was found with the different bodies, because it's now going to be separated. So we're looking forward to this trial. Even though he's charged with murder in the first degree, just remember the most he's going to face is life without the possibility of parole here in New York under state law.
All right. As we said, we got a hearing coming up in the case. Let the circus begin. Tuesday, we've got a hearing in the case of the suspected Long Island serial killer.
Okay, dokie. So tomorrow, yeah, he goes to court tomorrow, but like we were saying in the chat, there's no cameras allowed in New York courts. So I guess they're going to do a press conference, we heard. So I was looking into that on Twitter, and I didn't see anything yet for any of the news stations that are going to cover it. I'm sure someone will be out there covering it for us. That way we can, let me try my camera. That way we can all watch it together. But that's all I really had for you guys for tonight. Let's see. I say that all the time. Yeah, like I said, I went and I got onto Twitter and no one's really talking about it, which is weird, I haven't seen that was something different. Yeah. So if you guys don't mind just taking a second to like the video, y'all know that it's free to do and it helps me out. And let me see if I know that Nancy did she did the Lori Daybell trial today, actually. I was really surprised that she did that. She did like the full sentencing, but then I think she cut it down on this for like an hour or so. We could always watch that if you guys didn't get a chance to watch the sentencing today. I didn't watch all of it. I watched just like towards the end, but 5 counts, wow. She's gone. She's gone. She's bye. I saw her do this, and somebody posted on Twitter like she was wiping tears. I doubt they were real tears. I doubt it. She was crying because she knew her ass is about to go to jail for the rest of her life. But I did call her a bitch on Twitter. And I'm not mad about it either, because she is. I don't like her. I hate that woman. I really do. I'm like, I hate that woman. I really, really do. It's weird that it's over for that part of it. Like 4 years, 4 years. This case was going on for 4 years. 4. She felt sorry for herself. Yeah, Doodlebug. She sure did. Sure did. And I wonder what Chad was thinking when the verdict came down, or the sentencing came down. When he heard she got 5 life sentences, I wonder what he's thinking now, because he's going down the same road she's going down. If they're going to convict the mother, I'm pretty sure they're going to convict the God prophet, husband that unalived his ex-wife. Wasn't even his ex-wife. I don't even know if they were divorced. His wife and her 2 children. She's crying because she's got. Yep, Roseanne, you're right. Yeah. Have faith. Her husband's trial is going to be very interesting. Yes, it is. I wish her brother was alive too. I was actually what's that song? There's a song. Let me see if I can remember it. It's a song that JJ likes. And I don't want it to pop up, but I forget what it's called. Now I'm gonna have to find it. Oh, maybe that's what it's called. Hold on. Found it. That song. Okay, so that song Hot Stepper, if you need to look it up, if you start to hear it, you're going to know exactly what song it is. It's like a very well-known song. But he liked that song. JJ did. And for some reason that song is on my Pandora. It's been like saved. You know when you can like thumbs up a song or save a song or something on the Pandora like premium. I saved it years and years ago. I've had Pandora premium for like 10 years now or something. But that song, every time it plays, your girl turns it up and I listen to the whole song and I sing it and I jam for JJ and I hear it a lot. The funny thing is, the weirdest thing is, so crazy. I know he does like We Will Rock You by Queen too. That's his other one. He had two, and that was the other one, the We Will Rock You by Queen. Yeah, that one is the other one. He did have good music. Oh, give me cold chills. But I was actually going into a store the other day, and I was listening to that song when I pulled into the parking lot. I walk into the store, and that song is playing in the store. I had not heard that song play in a store. I don't think ever. But I thought that was like a little sign, little sign saying, I know you'd be listening to my music. So her statement was so weird. I didn't even listen to her, Mindy, when she started talking. When I saw the path that she was going down, she started talking and it went straight into, I want to start off by quoting a biblical verse. It was one of the John verses. I don't know what verse or chapter, but the judge's face was priceless. He was just kind of like, didn't want to even deal with that. So it was crazy. I wonder, I mean, it's weird when a case is over because I wonder, like, you put so much time and invest so much energy. Like I only watched a couple, or I only did a couple lives over her and stuff like that. But I did, I knew the case back in like 2019 when it started. And it's just devastating. So for the people that have worked it the whole time, like Hidden True Crime podcast, like they've been a big, huge presence for that family and for getting advocacy, like getting, stuff for the family and everything. They're probably feels like they probably had a brick wall. Cause I know that's what's going to be like when Koberger goes on trial and he's convicted, because I felt like that when, when I first started like working and doing all my like stuff onto YouTube, when I first started doing like covering true crime, I covered the Kylie Rodney case. And when they came out with the autopsy and everything else, and it was like, it was an accident pretty much. That's it. That's the end of it. Like they're not going to really be looking into that, I don't think, anymore. But it literally felt like I hit like a brick wall. I was actually like standing over here for like 5 minutes. I was just standing there. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. So what song was it? It was called Hot Stepper. Yes. Yeah, there we go. I'll put it up. I don't know how to say his name. But or the group that sings it, but it's a good little jam. I'll get you pumped up. I would play it if they wouldn't strike me. I would probably get struck, but yeah, Judge Boyce did put her place. He did a good job. He did. Yeah, go look it up. Yeah, everyone go look it up and listen to it. As soon as you start hearing it, you're going to be like, I know that song. I know what it is. But it was one of his favorites. And I think that's really, really cute. What's the common rationale in continually engaging in true crime content? I don't know. What is it? Maybe you could let us know. Hey, true crime and other stuff. I was trying to read the comment before, but yeah, Shell, you're right. And I think that's what it was. I think that she said, I mean, Lori was saying stuff like she's friends with Tammy now, like they're cool, and like she sees her kids, and like it was too much. I muted her too. Whoever said they muted her, I was like, I'm not listening to you, but I wanted to hear what the judge had to say. So I was in here doing work and I was doing a video. And I just like waited until he had to say what he had to say. And then I turned it up. But I did do a pre-recorded video today. I will put the link to that in the chat actually real quick. If you guys want to watch it, it's a new video. It's a pre-recorded video. I just did it today. It's over Lindsay Shriver. She has a husband, has a family, has 3 beautiful children. She's beautiful. Her husband's gorgeous. You know, they're all perfect family. She, and I just put the link in there. If you guys want to watch that video, I put it in the chat. They went to Jamaica, or I'm sorry, the Bahamas, and she met somebody. And apparently that's all it took. And she had to hire a plot for her husband. And so it's going to be a good one, I think. I'm like, oh, Lordy, here we go. Got another pretty girl wanting to kill her husband. So it's like, it never ends. But I saw it on News Nation this morning and I went to record it. And Riddler had sent me the email right when I was getting ready to record it. And then one of you guys sent me another, an email about it. And I was like, I just recorded that. But I meant to email you guys back and I forgot. But I did. Yeah. The Lori case, her case is there were so many twists and turns and continuances and all of that. I am just so happy for the families. You know, maybe they can start the recovery process. You know, Larry and Kay, my heart is with them too. My Lordy. I hope that they live the rest of their days like in pure bliss because they deserve it, you know? And good thing her brother put that life insurance policy up in her name because look at it now, you know? She did. Yeah, Brooklyn, I think she had a life insurance policy on him too, yeah. You said I was just trying to get some perspective. I think my friend logged into my account and continuously watched the content, but hey, it's interesting nonetheless. Well, don't forget to subscribe. But true crime is just I don't know. True crime's fun on YouTube, I think. It's just a fun thing. It's entertainment, I guess, not fun, but it's an entertainment thing entertaining to watch, especially when you have huge cases like coming out of Idaho. You know, you've got Lori Daybell Vallow Daybell, Chad Daybell, Brian Kohlberger. You know, we've got Long Island serial killer now. Just, I don't even know. We cover a lot. Let me go on my page. I'm like, whenever I someone asks me, I'm like, we don't do anything on this channel. I forget. I did do another video. I did a video on Kylie Rodney, the Ryan Upchurch debacle, her family suing him. And then I did a video the other day on the missing Fernando Perez. He's missing millionaire found in a suitcase. So if you guys check my pre-recordeds, if you guys are ever bored, just want to help your girl out, press on my pre-recordeds and you can watch some of those. They're pretty good, I think. And then of course my live videos, we cover, a lot of Brian right now, Brian Kohlberger. Now I wish we had more people like Carly Russell in our genre. Just for not the baby part, but just for the fact that it was fun. It was a break. You know what I mean? It was like a lighthearted break. I'm going to figure out something to do. I think with my other channel, I have another channel, but I don't do anything on it yet. And I'll let you guys know when I'm going to change the name of it and stuff. But I think I'm going to do something over there that's more fun, more lighthearted, just fun, just to give us that break. Maybe just do one live a week even over there or one live a month. But I think it would just be fun. Because we had so much fun that night that we did the Carly Russell live. It was bad comedy. That's what it was. That's what it was. We had 700 people in the chat. We were all laughing. Everybody was laughing, I think, in the chat that night. I hope you guys all were. If you were laughing, you're probably laughing at me. Like Cardi B getting hit in the face with water. She threw a microphone at that girl. I would have too. I would have. But come to find out, Mindy, I was listening to this one guy that I really think he's adorable. He said that right before all that, Cardi B was asking her fans to throw water on her. But I don't know how far the mic throwing, compared to that. But yeah. See, we could do that stuff. Yeah. We could do fun. Yeah, Cardi B getting a freaking getting water thrown in her face and her throwing a microphone at a woman. That's entertainment. Yeah, like a battery charge. I think it'd be fun. Yeah, it'll give us like something different to do, and I don't know what kind of content. We'll figure it out, but I think it'd be fun. We can even do reaction videos, or I don't even care if we just watch little puppy dogs. Just something fun. I know Cardi's getting charged with battery. I would be like, I'd be like, worth it. I mean, I'm sorry, I would, because of the fact that these celebrities, every celebrity that you see right now, like that's at concert, including Taylor Swift, they're getting items thrown on stage at them. They are getting, I mean, it's bad. Like if you can't go to a concert and keep your items that you have with you in your hands, don't go to the concert, Just don't go to the concert. That was so funny. You got a little girl crush on Philly D. Who, me? Oh my God. What? Who feels sorry for her? I'm like, who feels sorry for her? Idaho is scary now. Idaho's old. Well, those little states up there in that little corner, they be tripping. Like Colorado, we got Idaho, Utah. What else do we have? We have other cases that are up through there. Washington, I think there's like another case up there. It's been crazy. It's been really crazy. Yeah. Yeah, like just like harder, yeah, like harder ones. Yep. People are gonna learn to stop playing. They need to. Like, I couldn't imagine being on stage and you're trying to entertain people and you're like, that's your job, but that's a lot of work for anybody. And you're getting things chucked at you. Like, I don't know if I'd sign up for that. They're going to end up putting barriers up, and then it's going to look really bad. The show's not going to look good. And then people are going to be pissed because they paid all that money for a ticket and they have to have a gate in between them and the performer because they can't keep their hands to themselves. You have a friend that just bought a house in Idaho? I think that Idaho's beautiful. What happened to just throwing bras as a right? Or some beads or something. Don't throw a cell phone or a brick. I don't know. They're just be throwing some crazy stuff. But I am going to jump off here. I'm going to do some stuff with Vincent tonight and hang out with him for a little bit because we don't really get to hang out too much. He's been works mornings, and then I usually come in here at night. He comes home from work and I'm like, see ya. But I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to be on tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but we'll figure it out. But I'm sure I'll be on tomorrow for you guys. But have a good evening and have a good day tomorrow. Have a good evening and a good day tomorrow. And I'll see you guys all in the next live. Bye, guys.